again. Let me go ahead and pick up where we left off. Y'all really gonna have to pay attention here, because shit just got real. Shit just got real in the field. Let's go. Francis Cress Welsing, The ISIS Papers, Chapter 10. Racism in sports and entertainment, the big brown balls versus the little white balls.
The ISIS Papers, Chapter 10. Ball Games as Symbols, The War of the Balls. Dedication. This chapter is dedicated to all the Black men who, through sports and through ball games in particular, symbolically are recapturing the balls. But that is also a part of the struggle. They're forcing the oppressors of Black people up against a psychological wall and thereby heightening the contradiction. Sometimes during certain periods, there's a conscious refocusing on certain segments of reality, data, and latter due to the dynamics within the total environment. The same body of data slips into the realm of unconsciousness for individuals as well as for the total collective. That, for example, in the framework of the white supremacy system culture, in its current phase of refinement, it is no longer in vogue to lynch Black men, hang them on trees, and castrate them. It's no longer the style to speak overtly in terms of killing niggers. Thus, there are many who believe that these activities, these thoughts and acts have ceased to be a part of reality within the culture. However, these modes of thought and behavior were handed consciously and overtly in the recent past only until ball games became fully established as the major national, indeed global, pastimes in the Western civilization. The global white supremacy system culture and the sum total of its conscious as well as the unconscious tactics, strategies, and methodologies evolved in all areas of people activity. Additionally, these maneuvers seek to prevent white genetic annihilation and attempt to resolve the psychological anxiety and tension related to that ever-present threat. Thus, the task of white supremacy domination require constant vigilance. The deep pervading fear of white genetic annihilation in the white psyche has caused a neurotic, unconscious preoccupation with genes, genetic material, and those aspects of the human anatomy that either contain or transport the genetic material in a sexual act, the act of self-reproduction or self-annihilation, as is a possibility in the case of the whites. Since Black or other males of color are the only ones who actually can initiate and carry forth the act of white genetic annihilation through sexual intercourse, the white preoccupation is specifically with male genitalia as opposed to female, namely the testicles, the balls, and the penis. The testicles contain a genetic material, and the penis transports the genetic material in the act of ejaculation. Thus, in the white brain computer, there's a dominant association between balls, testicles, and contest of power. Because the white genetic survival conflict is not handled overtly and consciously, there is a neurotic preoccupation in the white psyche with genes, genetic material, testicles, and penises. Yet at another level, the preoccupation is actually with warfare. Continuous warfare is required to prevent the genetic annihilation of the global white minority. Warfare, in this sense, refers to the domination and destruction of all people of color, particularly Black males and their balls, by every necessary means, which have included the initiation of infertility epidemics in Africa. Games. Although there are commonly held views that games are merely a form of play and entertainment, even when they are played professionally, and that for the most part, the permanent fascination of games lies simply in the pure joy of playing them, the child psychiatrist realizes that for the young, games and play are the work of children. It is one of the means by which, through the handling of toys and objects in a symbolic way, children master adult role expectations and attempt to resolve unconscious conflicts brought by the dynamics and interplay of factors in their surrounding environment. Play and games then become the child's unconscious attempt to master the environment, its conflicts and threats to the child's sense of security. Those who have taken the trouble to study games through the world realize that not only the play and games of children, but most specifically the games in adult life, as participated in by a given people, reflect their history, folklore, traditions, and conflicts. Frederick B. Grunfeld, in his book Games of the World, has stated, modes of games play tend to remain constant. Their symbolism is often influenced by contemporary events, particularly by the politics of the day. During the Napoleonic Wars, for example, chess sets were made showing Napoleon as general, Napoleon as first consul, Napoleon as emperor, always, of course, with the Corsican assuming the position of the white king. The suggestion here is that all ball games in the white supremacy system culture similarly play out at an unconscious level, dominant political, i.e. power concerns. The fundamental power concern in the white supremacy system culture is white genetic survival through white supremacy domination. Such domination can be established and maintained only if white males and females, the total white collective, control all of the balls, testicles of non-white men, off and on the playing fields and ball courts. In other words, the name of the real game, the power game, is continuous worldwide control of the testicles of all non-white men by white males and females as the only means of ensuring white genetic survival in a world where the melanin-producing genetic material of non-whites is dominant. Without control of the non-white genetic material, whites will be annihilated genetically. Since these facts of genetic reality can be neither denied or discussed at the conscious level of brain activity, this dominant theme is manifested daily at the symbolic level via games with symbolic balls, footballs, baseballs, soccer balls, handballs, golf balls, ping pong balls, earth balls, hockey pucks, etc. These symbolic ball games have a highly important role to play at the unconscious level, informing all white males especially, but also females, to keep their attention and their eyes constantly fixed on the balls as a matter of life and death. The high-level anxiety and fear associated with the continuous threat to white genetic survival must be played out symbolically through the numerous forms of ball games. All of these games are played mainly by men, are centered on who has the ball, and who are concerned with who finally controls the ball when the game of power ends. The anxiety and tension that accompanies ball games is parallel to the anxiety and tension experienced at the thought in the white psyche of white genetic annihilation. Similarly, the increasing violence that accompanies ball games parallels the increasing level of violence needed to maintain global white supremacy, as the entire non-white world seeks its liberation from white domination. Some of these highly symbolic ball games are played with white balls, and others are played with colored balls, usually black or brown. Generally, the white balls are small in size, whereas the colored balls are much larger in size, paralleling the respective genetic power in the white and colored testicles. Currently, the most popular games, those that attract most male attention, are played with big brown balls, footballs, and basketballs. This rise in popularity of colored balls parallels the rise in power at the global level of the third world of non-white nations. Also, as white females demand their liberation from white males in order to become co-equals in running the global system of white supremacy, they simultaneously seek expression of this equality by participating in all of the ball games, including football and basketball. At the same time, white females step up their sexual aggression toward black and other non-white males, greatly increasing the incidence of white female-black male marriages. In these arrangements, the white female obtains control of the black and other non-white male balls. Non-white males and females are powerless under the global system of white supremacy domination. As a threat to white domination, and thus the threat to white genetic survival, increases at the global level, a mass hysteria develops over playing with balls until the entire society and social system is either watching or playing ball games. It is of little wonder that violence is becoming an increasingly dominant aspect of ball games when it is understood that behind the symbolism of the ball games is the very survival of the white race. When war is in progress, the top priority is always the status of the war. White supremacy, racism is a war against all persons classified as non-white. In the meantime, the balls are passed, hit, bounced, dribbled, batted, punted, kicked, thrown, shot, rolled, struck, driven, caught, and captured to see who is the final possessor of the balls, or to see who is the most agile, astute, or strongest in mastering and controlling the balls. Another point that effectively reveals the relationship of ball games to white psyche is and emphasizes the extent to which balls are a symbolic preoccupation is the reference in the white supremacy system culture to the act of sexual intercourse as balling. The ball, fantasy, in the white psyche can best be stated as if the balls can be controlled on the court or the playing field or through ownership, they can also be owned and controlled in real life. It is little wonder that in contrast to black males, white males play ball games as though they are a matter of life and death, and not as though they are simply to be enjoyed. When whites lose control of the balls, whiteness becomes extinct. It is no accident that the phrase "to blackball," in the language of the white supremacy system culture, means to exclude and to have the power to exclude. Similarly, the genetic material in the black testicles, black balls, has the power to genetically exclude or annihilate the recessive genetic material in the white testicles. Hence, one drop of black blood, black genetic material, makes you black, a highly familiar expression in the white supremacy culture. Now, specific ball games. Close examination of specific phenomenon in ball games that are popular in the white supremacy culture will support the preceding discussion. In a game of billiards or pool, there are 8 colored balls, a white ball, and a long dark stick placed on the table. The object of the game is to use the long stick in causing the white ball to knock all the colored balls under the table. The last colored ball knocked under the table is the black ball. When the game is over, the white ball is the only ball that remains on top in the table with the long dark stick. Then the game starts again. Bowling is also an interesting ball game in the white supremacy culture. Usually the game is played with a large black ball being rolled forcefully down an alley where it is expected to knock down 10 white pins. The central pin is referred to as the king pin. Clearly, the bowling pins are white and in shape are phallic symbols. In other words, the pins are white phallic symbols that are knocked asunder by a heavy black ball, over which the bowler attempts to gain mastery. In symbolic fantasy, the bowler sees himself as master and possessor of the larger black ball, and thereby in control of the harm it can bring to the white male genital apparatus, the white pins. Bowling was introduced to America by Dutch colonists in the 18th century. It's a derivative of the French game guise that was brought to England in the 19th century and later to Germany. Games that consist of throwing balls of various sizes back to ancient Rome and Greece, early cultures that had extensive contact with black men in Africa. A modern French derivative of that ancient game is Jeu de Boules. F.V. Grunfeld states, the French whites play boules with what was been described as a mild fanaticism. It is well to recall that a considerable period of French history was spent controlling black and brown men in Africa and Asia. Earthball is a modern American version of an ancient game. It is played as a struggle between the two teams or tribes who jostle, run, push, elbow one another to move the large, dark, colored ball in the desired direction and to gain possession of it. The game attempts to develop a sense of common purpose amongst the members of a tribe or team. This game was started in California with most, if not all, players being white. The importance of games utilizing large brown balls in the white supremacy system culture is of a special interest. The most important of these games are football and basketball. It is only an accident that black males now that have been allowed to play have become the most outstanding players in these sports, nationally and internationally. Is it only an accident that in a game of football, the field general, the quarterback, almost always must be white, no matter the color of the other players? And of course, the owners always must be white so that no matter who wins or who is the star, the white owner controls the big brown balls and who gets to play with them. It is of symbolic importance that the large brown basketball is thrown into a circular opening, the basket, usually a white net, that can be viewed as a symbol of the white female vaginal orifice. Similarly, the large brown football is kicked through the white upright openings, the goalposts, that can be viewed again symbolically as the uplifted legs of a white female in the act of sexual intercourse. Perhaps unconsciously, the white male psyche considers that the white female's preferred sexual choice is tall, dark, and handsome. And tossing or kicking the large brown balls into the white net or the white goalposts, the white male is able to fantasize that he is satisfying the white female maximally via identification with the black male and the brown balls, which the white male in play believes he now possesses or controls. This writer is reminded that the common underground thought of saying of white men is that they are not really men until they have had sexual intercourse with a black female. This again is a demonstration of white males fantasizing that they are a customary role of the black males, whose genitals they apparently admire and envy. Thus, the black male is their true standard of real manhood and genetic power, the ultimate controller of the black ball. As white males attempt to master the placement of these large brown balls, playing balls, and openings, their activity can be viewed as attempts to resolve the dilemma of the self-questioned manhood. The manhood is always in question because of genetic recessive status compared to the genetic dominance of the world's majority. In this regard, it is not surprising that large numbers of white females hang around black basketball and football players that these black males are trapped into sexual involvement by these white females. The black male ball players, in turn, also are conditioned under white supremacy domination to want to place brown balls in white nets, white vaginal orifices, as a mark of supposed true black manhood, since males refer to white males as the man, and placing brown balls in white nets in between white goalposts, the black male's fantasy becomes the man. Hockey, a sport that black men are not allowed to play in the white supremacy culture, also consists of attempting to play a round black object, the hockey puck, into a white net opening, symbolic of the white vaginal orifice. The object that is used to place the black puck in an opening is a long colored stick, symbolic of the black phallus. White males fight ferociously among themselves to get the black round object in the white net opening as a test of their strength or their manhood. Apparently, for the white male psyche, and it's anathema to have to compete with the black male, the possessor of the real black balls and stick. In this challenge, controlling the black ball and the black stick and getting the black object into the symbolic white net opening on the white ice field. Soccer, or European football, traditionally is played with the white ball, smaller than a large brown football and basketball. The sport is less popular in the United States, but it is very popular in Central and South America. The white soccer ball is not to be touched with the hands. It is knocked and kicked. The kicking of the white ball becomes a very violent and vicious activity. Again, however, the greatest player, the master of the large white ball, turned out to be a black Brazilian, Pele, who married a white female. The owners of the professional soccer teams also remain white, of course. Another popular ball game played with a smaller white ball is baseball. Baseball was the great all-time American, aka white sport, until a black man, Hank Aaron, became the world's greatest controller of that white ball, hitting it with a brown or black bat. It is little wonder that he has moved even closer to taking the title of control away from the white Babe Ruth. Aaron began to receive letters from white people threatening his life. This behavior remains incomprehensible. After all, it's only a game, unless one is aware that the white ball is symbolic of the white testicles that a black man had knocked out of the ballpark. The black man in this manner controls the symbolic small white testicles. This is not psychologically tolerable in the white supremacy culture, as it represents white genetic annihilation, which whites traditionally have killed to prevent. This unconscious response to non-whites controlling white balls clarifies the reason that a couple of years ago, the American Little League team, white, which consistently was being beaten by non-white children in Taiwan, was prevented from competing further with these non-white children. And now the American children are prohibited from playing with the Taiwanese teams. White male children must not be confronted in a white supremacy culture with the non-white children controlling white balls, testicles. Such a continuing experience is totally inconsistent with the optimal development of the white supremacy psyche, as well as with the white male's survival need to control all of the balls on the planet Earth. Next, smaller in diameter in the white ball series is tennis ball. To date, there has been only one black male world champion controller of that small white ball, Arthur Ashe. Although amongst blacks, Althea Gibson became a master of the white ball before Ashe. Is it only a coincidence that when Ashe began to play tennis with champion force, the game then allowed the introduction of colored tennis balls in the major tournaments? A black male is just not supposed to bat a small white ball into total submission. Ashe became the #1 world ranked tennis champion in 1975, but he did not sustain that position in 1976. Ashe has been quoted as saying that he does not play just to win, but for the enjoyment of the sport. This attitude is in stark contrast to that of Jimmy Connors, white, who has stated that he plays only to win and has described his approach to the game as a killer instinct. I can imagine the psychological pressure put on Arthur Ashe as long as he remained in a position of champion controlling the small white tennis balls. I'm certain that he could be liked better in the context of the white supremacy culture as long as he held any position other than number one controller of the prestigious small white tennis ball. The smallest ball in the popular white ball series is the golf ball. Like tennis, golf has been the ball game of the most powerful males in the white supremacy system culture. However, like tennis, it is spreading slowly throughout the white supremacy culture to include large numbers of whites and non-white females. Interestingly, golf, the most elite of all the ball games in the white supremacy culture, is played with a long, dark-colored stick or iron held between the legs. This iron is smashed against the side of the small white ball. The object is to knock this small white ball into a hole in the black earth, black mother earth, the black female. By attempting to place a small white ball in the black earth using a long, dark stick, again, the white male is attempting to identify with the possession of the genital equipment and privilege of the black male, whose rightful partner is the black female. If this pattern of play in golf does not qualify as the very essence of male genital symbolism and neurotic conflict in a white male psyche, as formulated in this specific discussion, then nothing does. Again, is it only a coincidence that the major event in golf competition should be called the Masters Tournament? Is this not a fitting title for the most elite of all ball games, played by the masters of the master race? One final question. Is it a reflection of the white male self-hate and self-rejection and rejection of the inadequacy of the white testicles or balls that the games played with small white balls involved the balls being attacked, hit, struck, and knocked far away from the body in an act of masochism? Whereas by contrast, the games played with large brown balls involve holding on to and possessing the balls. No large brown balls are struck with objects in the white supremacy culture's popular ball games. There is indeed significance in these facts. And even though the large black bowling ball is rolled away from the body, its aim is to knock down symbols of the white phallus. Further, is there a parallel significance in the fact that the most powerful man in the global white supremacy system, Gerald Ford, on the day of his departure from office after losing the presidential election, left immediately to play golf, to beat the small white balls masochistically across the fairway in his hour in defeat of humiliation? Is it a further note that his predecessor, who was forced from office in absolute disgrace, also spends much of the time on the golf course beating small white balls? It seems of interest that the more powerful the white male becomes in the context of the white supremacy culture, the smaller the ball that becomes his focus of attention. Is this because the more the white male achieves that he wants to believe was real power, the greater the realization that his perception was only inadequate compensation for fundamental lack of truth power? Genetic power? Is it not also curious that when white males are young and vigorous, they attempt to master the large brown balls, but as they become older and wiser, they psychologically rein themselves to the inability to master the large brown balls? Their focus often shifts masochistically to hitting the tiny white golf balls in disgust and resignation. In full final realization of white genetic recessiveness, it will be of further interest to ascertain the number of army generals in the white supremacy system who play golf, demean white genetic material, while planning for race war of the destruction of non-white genetic material. After the Chinese and non-white people under white supremacy domination for many decades were able to chase the whites out of their country, the most popular ball game in China became ping pong. The object of the game is to smash a tiny white ball back and forth across the table, perhaps in unconscious retaliation for the humiliation imposed upon the Chinese people by the whites. The Chinese finally beat the white balls. Similarly, golf and baseball, two white ball games, have become the most popular ball games in Japan, a country of non-white people conquered, attacked, and humiliated in atomic war by white people. Perhaps at the conscious level, the Japanese or non-white people believe that they are imitating their conquerors whom they admire. At the unconscious level, however, they are in turn humiliating the inadequacy of the white testicles or balls. The dynamics that motivate the conquered and the conquerors are never the same. Is there also a connection between the defeat of the highly armed Americans in the Vietnam War, wherein white males are beaten by a tiny nation of non-white people, and the fantastic increase in the popularity of tennis through the U.S.? The entire U.S. nation, since the close of the Vietnam War, has begun to beat the small white tennis balls, the symbolic white testicles, following a humiliating defeat or loss of power for the American white nation. Or did tennis just become popular after Watergate? Furthermore, is it just a coincidence that there was a greatly increased interest in white females in tennis at the same time that they began their women's liberation movement, a movement that attacks white males and their sense of superiority, and movement that has referred to white males as male chauvinist pigs? Through the game of tennis, white females symbolically can attack the white testicles. It's part of the anatomy that is supposed to make the white male superior to the white female. Is this also why tennis is becoming increasingly popular among blacks in America? Also, is there a relationship between the number of white males seeking sex change operations to remove their hated male genitalia, the number of white male physicians willing to perform the surgery, and a white male's loss of Vietnam War to non-white men, as well as the rise and power of non-white men in general on the planet? I wish an ever-increasing success to all black males who participate in ball games, and I look forward to the day when the majority of quarterbacks are black, or at least in proportion to the number of black football players. Still, the most important message in this essay is that in the last 100 years, the white collective simply has moved from the overt sport and entertainment of lynching and castrating black men, removing their testicles, thereby controlling their balls, to a more highly refined series of symbolic representations of the same act, ball games. And whether through lynching and castration or modern ball games, the object and neurotic preoccupation is the same. The white male seeks to prevent non-white males from ever controlling white balls, and therefore they must control the anatomical balls and the contents of the colored anatomical balls, the genes of the non-white men that threaten white genetic survival. Ball games merely reflect the white collective's admiration and fear of black testicles, their contempt for white testicles, and their willingness to fight, no matter how violently, to maintain control of the balls on the field and the court, which symbolizes every place on earth. This neurotic preoccupation of whites is, of course, essential for the genetic survival of the race. The rules may change, but the real game is always the same. This deep significance of balls in the context of the white supremacy system culture cannot be discussed overtly without causing the collapse of the entire political and psychological white supremacy edifice. Events in the world of symbolism are far ahead of the events in the world of conscious reality, because the former represents a more complete recording of the totality of reality data in a brain computer. Thus, through the world of symbolism, perhaps we can gain insight into the world of reality that must be mastered. By decoding and translating symbols, we can confront those aspects of reality that generally we would prefer to ignore. Norman Brown's statement in Love's Body sums it up. The axis on which world history turns in symbolism, the axis of world history is making conscious the unconscious. Ball games equal war of the balls, equals war of the testicles, equals war of the genes, equals race war.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and skip past all this dumb shit so I do not get flagged again. But you guys got the message. See, it's bigger than Jay-Z. It's bigger than Colin Kaepernick. It's bigger than the NFL. What it's about is the big brown balls and the little white balls in the system of white supremacy. And all us niggas seem to do is dominate sports and entertainment. That's just one area of white supremacy. You have economics, education, then entertainment. After that, you have labor, law, and politics. After that, you have religion, sex, and war. Now, if we're going to defeat this thing, we got to get our minds right. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back later on with the fuck shit, and we're going to bring that shit to an end relative to Jazzy G and all this bullshit and fuckery. All right, y'all? Talk to you later.